Hello, I'm Miles Novak with Agriculture Communications 133. Today our focus is on agriculture communications with NDSU's Becky Koch. Becky attended college at Kansas State University where she majored in agriculture journalism and later earned her master's in agriculture education. Before taking over as the NDSU Agriculture Communications Director in 2004, she was the Communications Director for the Kansas Wheat Commission. Becky, thanks for taking the time today. So Becky, tell us about the Agriculture Communications Department and kind of what your roles are there.
The NDSU Ag Communication Department isn't an academic department, but rather it serves primarily the Extension Service, though all of agriculture. We write news releases, develop web pages, provide computer support, we have graphic designers, and we provide the entire print and copy services for the university.
Awesome. With your experience in the industry, Becky, what do you see as one of the biggest issues today in agriculture communications?
There's probably a difference between how we look at ag communication, because some ag communication professionals are true journalists where they're trying to educate farmers on the latest research or something like that. But yet there are other ag communications professionals who are working in more advocacy roles, who are trying to educate others about agriculture rather than having the producers themselves as the target audience. Mm-hmm. So there's really two angles there on ag communication, I think.
Mm-hmm. Definitely some different options that really give people different opportunities. Absolutely. So like in that situation, like what would you say are some really good career opportunities for someone with an agricultural communications degree?
First of all, there's quite a few different good career opportunities because there's a demand in communications for people who know about agriculture. There are jobs, in fact, some of my former students are in ag magazines, in ag policy, for example, with Farm Bureau, in commodity group work, being communications directors with a commodity group, and just a wide variety of careers. So first of all, even though some people say, oh, there's no future in agriculture, I truly believe that's not true. Today, more than ever, that need is there with people with the skills to communicate agriculture story or to communicate with the producers themselves.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. It's one of those things that there's a lot, it's a hot topic, agriculture today, and there's so much miscommunication in the agriculture industry. One of the biggest aspects is the producer-consumer talk all the time. Between the producers being, agronomists, farmers, agricultural researchers, all the way up to the post-harvest production companies, and then, quite frankly, the consumers who are everyone that consumes food in this country. What would you say the biggest barrier is, and kind of what keeps that barrier going between the producers and the consumers?
Obviously, fewer and fewer people live on farms today than a generation or two or three ago. Mm-hmm. So it's just simply lack of experience. I think that's a lot of it. And the changes in agriculture during those 2 or 3 generations. Obviously, when my grandfather farmed, it's a heck of a lot different now with today's agriculture and the equipment and sizes of farms and the inputs and everything like that. So a lot of Americans still have this fairy tale idea of, a farm is 50 acres that grandpa and grandma have a few chickens and a few pigs and a horse, and that's not today's agriculture, because we wouldn't be able to feed the people of the world if it was simple as that. I support the local foods movement and those who choose to go that way and frankly pay a little bit more for their food. That's great. Everybody needs those options. But on the other hand, we can't feed the entire world just locally. Yeah. So, and I don't like calling it industrial agriculture either, but today's modern agriculture has to be more productive. Right now, there are about 7 billion people in the world. That's predicted to be 9 billion here in just a few years. And how are we going to feed those people? So it's really important for agriculture to stay up to date and for people to understand that producers are some of the best stewards there are. They want to take care of their livestock. They want to take care of their land. So somehow they've gotten this stereotype of, oh, they're just poisoning the land and poisoning us, and that's not true. They simply want to do the best job they can, and they don't want to pay for more herbicide or antibiotics or something like that if they don't have to, but sometimes it's simply needed. And so teaching that to people who still think a farm is, like I said, grandpa and grandma on 50 acres with a few chickens and a few pigs. It's a challenge.
Yeah, and it definitely, I mean, it's a huge change, and it's one of those things that, you know, as we continue on in agriculture and as we keep pushing towards that, I believe it was 2050 that I've heard that it's going to be a challenge, and I think that it's something that our generation is going to have to deal with. So it'll be interesting.
Absolutely.
So from your professional and even your personal standpoint, what would you say would be the best form of advocation for moving this communication, you know, towards people that have no agriculture experience whatsoever, have never even experienced that, opposed to like people that have lived in agriculture most of their lives? You know, obviously there's something going on. What would you say, just from your standpoint and from the beginning of something that we can start, honestly, what would be the best route to take in that situation?
A lot of organizations are taking a very broad route and thinking, how can we reach a lot of people? I guess my philosophy is we have to do a lot of one-on-one work. I remember visiting with my next door neighbor here in Fargo and just talking to him about, why have you chosen this route? Because here's my experience. And that's very time consuming, but it really helps to be able to tell a personal story and to work one-on-one. If you're just standing in line at the grocery store and somebody makes a comment, or any store about, well, I heard I don't buy pork anymore because those pig farmers keep their sows in crates where they can't even turn around. That's an opportunity to not attack that person, but to share an educated explanation. Yes, that's true, and here's why we do that. I grew up on a pig farm, so I like this example, but we did keep our sows in crates because I've seen a sow lay down and sadly squish her baby pigs, and you know, nobody wants that. The farmer doesn't want that. The sow doesn't even want that. But when they're loose running around, that happens. So there are logical reasons why farmers use almost all of the technologies they do.
Yeah. And it's just, I think it's one of those things that, yeah, it's going to be interesting, and hopefully we can slowly begin to get that advocacy across. So
Just one thing, I prefer not to use the word advocacy. That's great,
okay.
And a lot of people do, and that's appropriate. I prefer to use the word education.
Education.
And you know, like in school, just because we learn something doesn't mean it changes our mind, but still, if they have facts rather than us just jumping down, well, this is the way it is. Too often, people in agriculture I've seen, well, I know and they should believe me because I have that experience, and they don't. But calmly educating them with facts and research and figures. And so that's just a personal hang-up of mine. I prefer to educate people rather than me advocate for agriculture, although subtly I am doing that.
Absolutely. So I mean, just one more question for you today, Becky. If you had to say just a few things to someone that's considering an agricultural communications degree, what would you tell them?
There are a lot of career opportunities related to ag communications, and it's exciting because the industry keeps changing too. Don't want to date myself, but when I was in college, I literally spliced tape when I was in my radio TV class, and social media, oh shoot, the computer and the internet weren't even invented.
Absolutely.
What am I saying? So there's always a lot coming down the road, and you can always stay up to date and not get bored in your job. But you can choose whether you want to go into more straight journalism with educating farmers, or if you want to go more the educational advocacy route and support agriculture. So broadcast, public relations, journalism, communications, it's a wide open field, and communications professionals are looking for folks who understand agriculture. The best example is a TV station is looking for somebody who can do a little bit of everything, shoot the video and edit it, write the news story, do the social media, and who understands agriculture. They can't find anybody. So there are jobs out there. It's really exciting.
Definitely.
Obviously, I'm excited about the future of agriculture communication, and I love being involved in it myself. Our department focuses primarily on taking NDSU research to producers of the state, and to me, that's just a wonderful combination of my communication skills to educate people. So each of us can kind of find our niche in agricultural communication, and there's so many opportunities. It's just really exciting.
Absolutely. Becky, thank you so much. I mean, there's so much going on, and obviously in agriculture communications, there's definitely opportunities, and hopefully we can get across to some more agriculture people and even non-agriculture people just to really put us into that perspective, you know. So thanks for coming in today, and thank you for tuning in.
Thank you.